Okay. So we've just broadcasted. Attendees are just coming in now. So I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes just for everyone to join. I want to thank as well those attendees that have been with us all day. I'm sure you're pretty fed up of me by now, but I've got a lovely panellist here. Lots of new faces, lots of different topics, so I'm sure you can enjoy it with them. Okay, coming on to our last one of the day, which is all about corporate gifting, staff rewards and incentives. Firstly, I'd like to introduce our panellists. I have Sheila Attwood, who is the Managing Director for XpertHR. Sheila is XpertHR's Managing Editor, Pay and HR Practice. She has more than 20 years experience of working in research and editorial capacity in publishing environment. With a focus on the labour market, reward, industrial relations and HR practice, Sheila leads the team that is responsible for HR and reward content on XpertHR, with a key responsibility for pay settlement and tracking services. Secondly, we've got Jamie Owens, who is Director of Sales and Partnerships for Hussle. Jamie has spent the last 20 years in a wider wellbeing space, working for premium leisure. Brands include Nuffield Health, Virgin Active, also providing a wellbeing service to corporates of all sizes throughout the UK. So welcome to Jamie. We also have Simon Berry, who is the MD for High Five Rewards. Simon has actually 25 years experience in the incentives, reward and recognition sector. His passion for employee rewards stemmed from his time as head of UK business development with a leading UK furniture retailer, where he was responsible for the creation of multiple sales incentive campaigns, internal communications and conference. So welcome to Simon. And lastly, we have Andy Lawson. Andy Lawson is the founder and CEO of Boroughbox. Boroughbox are the experts in independent food and drink space, working with hundreds of incredible producers and brands to supply offices with drinks and snacks, curate employee welcome packs and birthday gifts, design, build and ship client gift gestures. There's a bit of a tongueful there. Choose that, Andy.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so we're going to start firstly with the questions. So Sheila, I'm going to come to you first. How important do you feel it is to reward your staff in general?
Well, here we're talking about recognising employees. So this isn't incentives to meet targets and things like that. This is really saying thanks for the great things that people are doing. And that's a really important addition to people receiving their salary and their bonus and their commission. It's that additional way of recognising them. And this really helps to build a culture where people are thanked regularly for their good work and for their contribution. And the key reason we do this is to lead to good employee engagement. Now, we know engaged employees, they're more likely to go the extra mile, they're more likely to innovate, they're less likely to move on, so you're not going to lose those valuable skills. And if they've been recognised once, they're really more likely to show those behaviours again. So that leads to more improvements in performance and productivity for your organisation.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Same question to Simon. Simon, how important do you feel it is to reward your staff?
I think I echo quite a bit of what Sheila was saying there. I think the key word for me is this recognition element. It's not just about incentives. A lot of people think about incentives as driving a particular performance, but recognition, I think it's really important because it encapsulates everybody. And I think just a little recognition and reward goes a really long way in helping organizations, whether they're an SME or a really big corporate, achieve their goals. And almost it keeps them as an employer of choice and a company that people want to work within. And there's been a whole host of surveys over the years that reinforce this, started from the States, then into the UK. You know, a very simple fact here, 40% of employees said when they do not feel meaningfully recognised, they will not go above their formal responsibilities. So if you flip that on the head, you know, it's recognition and reward is very, very important in or out of pandemic, I hasten to add as well.
Yeah, no, sorry. had a little bit of technical issue there. I flicked it over. Thank you. Sorry, Simon. Andy, from a gifting point of view, and you're obviously a corporate gifting company, what would you recommend for staff rewards?
Boroughboxes, of course. Well, I think it's, again, to echo what the guys just said there, it's all about recognition, and then I think it's what helps define the culture of your company, and then you become a certain honesty within your company and openness versus this anonymity within your company, and that's that open rewards and recognition culture is a good breeding ground in terms of what to reward your staff with and how. I think that has to be a real mix, and I think that it depends whether you really want to sort of personally engage with those individual employees to find something particularly relevant to them, or whether you want to reward in such a way that actually is a statement about your brand. So, I mean, obviously I can refer to food and drink a little bit, and a simple one is a brand may say, actually, we want to only go down a vegan slant because that's representative of our brand and our identity, and that filters through. But on a more general sense, I think there's a combination of everything from the physical to the sort of learning. Learning is just as important. Reward somebody with, I often say to our staff, if there's something you would like to learn or us to pay for, let me reward you in that sense. It doesn't have to be something physical. I've been meaning to learn to code. We'll go and, crash out a 2-week course and we'll cover that. So I think it has to be a broad mix of physical and mental, with a real sort of, preferably something that's engaging directly for the employee as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andy. Jamie, coming to you. Do you think that rewarding staff's become more important during the pandemic lockdown? If so, why?
Yeah, good question. I suppose it not maybe more important, but I think it's equally as important. I think it's very challenging working during lockdown. Myself, a father to 2 boisterous lads, trying to juggle homeschooling, trying to juggle work, trying to, it's quite stressful. So again, we've been quite good, I think, in maintaining that kind of culture, if you like, throughout. We've done lots of social activity, and we've brought kind of reward and recognition in there as well. And, even just a call from the CEO directly to a member of the team just to see how they're getting on, if they need any support. I guess not so much reward, but just keeping that culture ticking along. I think that's really, really important. And, as a business, Hussle have been pretty much kind of hibernating through this period of time. But where other business has been flourishing, there's probably more opportunity to reward. But I think we've been quite key to just to keep in contact with people, make sure that they're okay. If they need anything, we're there to support. But yeah, I think in answer to your question, it's probably equally as important. But maintaining that culture, maintaining that kind of pat on the back, well done, definitely important.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jamie. Simon, same question to you. Do you think it's become more important?
I think it has. I think you suddenly take these massive or small audiences and suddenly they're no longer getting the chats at the drinks in the canteen, in the cafeteria. They're working from home, they're juggling the kids, they're juggling the barking dog. I mean, I suffer from that. When anybody rings that doorbell, it just goes ballistic. And they lose that. I think there's a lot of things you see on LinkedIn or various other mediums where they lose that sense of belonging. So it's about how you engage those individuals that are working from home. And I think that's where peer-to-peer recognition plays a really massive part. It's not about the value of the prizes or anything like that, or the rewards. It's about keeping that communication consistent, keeping it fair across the whole audience. I loved what Jamie just said about the CEO. There's some brilliant examples I've seen over the last 8 weeks of CEOs doing little handwritten notes and sending them out. Massively well received by the individuals. That costs nothing, just time from the CEO to do stuff like that. If you're lucky enough to have a system in place, then it should really be, in my opinion, around the values of the business. Send those messages, make them personal. And if you want to do rewards, do some digital. But I think we're covering that on a separate subject. But it is about a sense of belonging.
Thank you very much, Simon. Andy, same question to you. Do you think it's become more important? I mean, have you seen sort of an increase in gifts, especially with people working from home?
We personally, I mean, we've been incredibly busy, I guess. You know, we're fortunately in a sector, everybody wanted to eat and drink and wanted to clear every digital and physical shelf at first, but then very quickly when sort of reality came back of lockdown, of what it meant, a lot of very proactive employers reached out to us, and our corporate side has been incredibly busy. And that has ranged from not just sending the, you know, being aware that those employees aren't in the staff canteen, that might be free, or they've got the usual perks of being in the office. So the people have sent food and drink to employees' homes, but they've also said, actually, our event's been cancelled, actually, our clients, actually, our whole engagement process has been locked down. We're trying to do things via webinars and host the same event. So therefore, we want everybody to have a cocktail, or everybody to have this. And actually, it's become, you know, it's become very important to remain engaged across the board, because I think it's very easy to become a bit directionless. And I read something quite interesting a couple of days ago about what does lockdown, it might be beneficial in lockdown when you feel like, oh, this is a nice opportunity to work from home by the dogs and the kids, etc. It's a bit of a change. But actually, what does that mean for promotions? How do people get promoted at home? How do you vie for promotion? Because nobody can see and engage with you, and you're used to having such a kind of really tangible view on your business in front of you. You can see who's maybe working hardest or has got the best output, and you think they're right for promotion. So the longer this went on, I guess that vulnerability factor comes in, of people that might have been on the cusp of a promotion all of a sudden feel sort of a little bit bewildered. So I absolutely think I just think engagement has been, and I have actually reached out to the few staff that we've got working at home and spoken to them personally. I wouldn't normally do as many one-on-ones, but going on what these two guys just said, actually just 5-10 minutes on a video call with them, just to say, you know, look, you're still one of the team, you know, we're not forgetting about you, and I've not forgotten about you, and neither of the rest of the team. I think that is a good standard to set.
Yeah, I think that's definitely important, especially if those are living alone at home. It can be quite isolating for people. I'm going to move on to Sheila. Sheila, what problems has the pandemic lockdown thrown up in terms of staff motivation, and what advice would you give to counter that?
Well, some interesting findings here from research we've done at XpertHR. Of course, we service the HR market, who are in a bit of a tough position. They're bridging the gap between the organisation and the workforce. And we asked them how they were coping. And we did get some people who were saying, do you know what, we're really rising to the challenge. There's so much to do. We're busy and we're relishing it. And as I am trying to service the HR market with a lot of content, I can vouch for that. There was a buzz at the beginning. We were so busy. But obviously time takes its toll, and we've seen that, and the people we're speaking to share that experience as well, is that a lot of people are under a lot of pressure. And you have people who are still working at home. We've talked about the different circumstances they're in. People who may not have the best environment to be in, people in house shares who've suddenly been asked to work from home. It's lovely here, I can go into the garden, I'm not in a flat, I can talk to my family if I want to, still after 12 weeks. So I have opportunities to get out and about, and other people don't. The key group not to forget, and I think Simon touched on this, is those people who are furloughed. And this is where the communication aspect comes in. The key thing through all of this is to communicate with everybody and to be honest. Be honest about where your business is. Be honest about what you know is going to come up and what isn't, as far as you can. Obviously, the government guidance hasn't helped in some cases. It's been a bit sporadic and Friday afternoon based. But if you know things, tell them. If you don't know because the guidance isn't there, tell them. Let them know as much as possible to all groups, those working still in the workplace, key workers, etc., those who are suddenly at home, those who are on furlough. And if possible, get people from the top of the organisation. You know, the messages from CEOs, again, is something we've seen come up in our research. Get those people at the top to be the ones sending the emails or the letters or the communication, so that people really know that the business is still there, is still caring for them, even though things are all up in the air at the moment.
Thank you so much, Sheila. Same question actually to Simon. What problems do you think it's thrown up about motivation?
It's a really interesting one. I mean, I've just launched a program, 4 weeks ago now, organisation, 1,100 people, all working from home. the recognition that came from those people to each other was so pent up, and it proved that they felt so isolated. And my advice is, it's exactly what Sheila was saying. You've got to keep the communication flowing. You've got to be honest with them. You've got to tell them what situation your company's in. Are you going to be okay? How long are they going to be on furlough? Yes, some of your colleagues are working, some of you are on furlough. Try not to treat them differently. You've got to try and engage them all, because hopefully all of you furlough ones are coming back. And it is about just keeping it real. I think reality and honesty is truly appreciated. And if you've got a way for them to tell you how they're feeling, it enhances it so much more. You know, how can they tell you how they're actually feeling? You can't phone 1,100 staff. You probably can't phone 500 as one person. It's how your team engages in keeping them all going. So you know how they're feeling, and you can build upon that through recognition, through maybe light-hearted, low-value rewards, just something to keep them engaged so they don't feel too isolated.
Well, thank you, Simon. When it comes to Jamie as well, I mean, is there anything that you could add to that point at all?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that the other guys have said. I think in addition to that, technology's played a huge part, and it certainly has for our business. I think Twitter were the first guys to go out there and say, you know, that you can work from home forever. And we've onboarded a new starter remotely, who I haven't actually met yet. One of the team, you know, I think that we've used technology in really, really good ways to keep that kind of touch point going, keep the regular dialogue. You know, we've hosted our weekly meetings, our team meetings, you know, CEO updates, all that kind of stuff. We've done what everyone else did, was had a Zoom quiz every minute, every day, and then slowly but surely ran out of questions. So we kind of petered off from that. But, you know, we've done stuff like gamification. So, you know, there's some great software out there. There's some challenges you can do. So one of our clients had sort of challenged their workforce to do Land's End to John O'Groats, you know, as a step challenge. So it got the guys out, being active, doing stuff, but, you know, collaborating together to get to an end goal. So, you know, I think it's probably thrown up some opportunities, to be quite honest. And I think our business has recognised that. You know, we're going to be offering a lot more opportunity for our team to work from home. One of our senior directors is actually moving house. You know, he's moving away from London out into the sticks, because he realises he doesn't have to be in the office quite as much as he was prior to lockdown. So taking the positives.
Brilliant, thank you. Sheila, moving back to you, what responsibility do you think employers have to their staff in terms of their well-being?
Well, we know that work has a huge influence on employees' well-being, both positive and negative. Get it right and people will feel really good. Get it wrong and they won't. So, you know, the actions of employers are really important here. And one of the key reasons is what happens if there's poor employee well-being. You know, lots of people off sick for a long time, poor performance, high labour turnover, losing those skills. They're all huge costs to the organisation, but you can turn those around. Good wellbeing does exactly the opposite. People aren't off, people perform well, people stay with you. And initiatives, there's, you know, lots of initiatives that you can adopt to help wellbeing at the moment. Certainly, from speaking from personal experience, things like trying to reduce long hours and work-related stress for people who are at home with no cut off of having to be anywhere else or catch the train or whatever. It's quite important that those things are kept an eye on to make sure that people are looking after themselves. And some of it is encouraging a bit of resilience, but also trying to make sure that people do make time for themselves at the moment. I love Jamie's wellbeing initiatives and active things. We had some horrific exercise at home team challenge that I was, every minute of the day, I was walking in meetings where I didn't have to join in. I was stepping at my desk and things to keep that going. But they're all really good initiatives that we found that they do work remotely. They work across continents. I was in a team with the people in the US. So things like that, looking at how your work is organised is quite important as well. Something I read on Twitter last night to finish on, quite a good initiative I saw, was one organisation said they were going to have a meeting light week, which meant that anything that wasn't absolutely essential went, and people could concentrate on their job, get back, you know, catch up with things and kind of have a bit of time for themselves that week. So I quite like that as an initiative to try.
think I like that one as well. Definitely. So same question to Andy as well. What responsibility do you think the employers have with their staff in terms of their well-being?
Massive, legally and morally. I suppose, there's two sides to it. Certainly, I guess onto the more serious side of coming back into that office, and the kind of, we recognise the need for increased health and safety, and again being, I think, very vocal and transparent about that and what process is going to be there moving forward. So again, I think that helps people understand there is an end to this and there is a kind of comeback. I think, what's probably interesting from this is historically back in the day, people were forced to come into work and you had to attend, and it was all about being there by 5 minutes to 9 and whatever the finish time was, and slowly but surely the work from home culture has crept in. Now it's gone completely the other way, where you're not allowed into the office, which may create that same that same unsettledness or that same uncertainty, which is quite interesting. Now you can't go back in, but somewhere in the middle we will settle back into this kind of, actually I think it's kind of expedited the reality that people can, their well-being is important and they can work from home. They don't necessarily need to be at their desk all of the time. We've all been forced to see it can actually work, and I think that part of well-being will be important to maintain as things come back to normal, and say actually there is a worthiness to being in the office and out the office in ways we work. So I think it's massively important to be thinking of staff. Your staff are your business after all. So if you don't care about their well-being, you don't care about your business.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, Jamie, you do a lot of well-being, I'm assuming, at Hussle. So is there anything that you could add to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's pleasing to hear the guys kind of talking about priorities here. It's huge. Of course, it's huge. And, I mean, Sheila touched on it, kind of absenteeism, presenteeism. What's quite interesting about what Andy was saying is, that kind of shift around presenteeism could actually be a factor at home now. People are probably feeling nervous around, am I doing enough? Is my boss kind of checking in on me? Do they think I'm working right now? Especially when the sun's shining. You jump on a Zoom call and everyone's got a blazing suntan and a burnt forehead, and it's quite apparent they haven't spent quite as much time in front of the laptop as you kind of hope they would have done. So look, I mean, well-being's huge. There's so many numbers out there. It costs so much cash. Even if you look at sickness alone, I think it's worth about 70 billion quid of cost to the UK. Massive, and especially now when you factor in those challenges around mental well-being, where people are at home, whether it's people like me that are trying to escape the kids, and whether it's people on their own. As Sheila pointed out, guys that are self-isolating on their own, really, really stressful. So I think the important bit for me is just choice. Your well-being strategy is going to be specific to your business and your needs and your team. So I think what's really important is just, not kind of just sticking people in holes, really understanding what your team want, giving them choice, giving them flexibility, and just supporting them with the right interventions. But yeah, look, it's massive. I'm not going to say any different.
Thank you very much, Jamie. Moving on to Simon. Simon, what benefits to businesses what are the benefits to businesses in having motivated and happy staff?
I love that question. I mean, to me, it's like obvious, but some people don't always get it, and they think it's a heavy cost burden for a business to do it, but it's not. I think the benefits they're fantastic, and there's been a lot of studies that have been done around this. I mean, I got a couple of really simple stats here. There was a study, the University of Warwick Centre for Competitive Advantage globally, found that happier employees are more productive by an average of 12%, and in some cases up to 20% more than those that aren't really engaged through this type of solution. The figures are just here, the 40% that are disengaged if they're not involved in it at all. So the benefits to a business of getting something, and it's business size, and I think it goes back to what Jamie was saying, it's about choice as well. A smaller business, it might be ad hoc. The larger business, you might need something structured, and it's what has to be right for your operation, whether you're in multiple locations or working from home or whatever. But the benefits of doing it far outweigh the cost. And I always say, if you get it right, it is totally self-funding, totally.
Thank you, Simon. Sheila, same question to you. Is there anything that you could add to that at all? Any more benefits?
Well, yeah, just one thing, that was my first point really, about it. It's quite obvious that engaged people that are motivated and happy are going to deliver so much more. But the other thing that organisations at the moment might want to think about looking forward a little bit, those happy and motivated employees are going to be ambassadors for your business. When things pick up, you may be looking to recruit in what could be, a fairly saturated labour market. There could be a lot of people available. You need to make sure you're getting the right people from that labour market, and your business needs to stand out. And those people who are with you at the moment have seen that you've treated them well during the pandemic, you've supported them, you've kept them on, they've kept the business going with you. They're going to look at those, they're going to speak to those potential recruits and say what a great business they work for, and that's going to help you in the long run. So having them with you all the way through is a really good start to when things do start to pick up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sheila. Our last question that we have, I've just got one more for you guys, and I just wanted to know, I'm going to go around each one of you. What type of reward would you recommend giving to staff during these times? It's just going to be one reward. So, Andy, I'm going to start with you. You're going to say alcohol, aren't you?
Well, we have actually moved quite a lot of alcohol. Now the sun's out. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I could lean towards our stuff, but really, I personally think it should be sort of individually based is the best thing. So, I mean, that also shows that as an employer, you understand your individual employees and they are different. But it probably wouldn't go amiss something also, future minded. So when you're out of this, I don't know, it's a voucher for the theatre, or it's a day at the spa or whatever, actually might make people think, well, it is going to be open again soon. And actually that's something to look forward to, which again, some of those people that have maybe been alone and isolated, it's like, actually, I'm going to come out and I'm going to go and do something a bit different.
Brilliant, thank you. Jamie?
Well, I think again it's choice. I mean, I'm going to hone towards kind of activity. So whether that, and that's just having choice around it. It could be cycle to work. It could be National Trust membership. It doesn't have to involve going into a gym, but just encouraging your team to get out and get active. So I think any kind of plethora of benefit, which is going to encourage them to do something, I think would kind of be top of my list. You've got the mental and the physical benefits of that. So yeah, that would be mine.
Lovely, thank you. Simon?
The key is choice, but if I had to drill it down, I would have to use a digital MasterCard, and then they can spend it on whatever they want because it's their choice, and that's more motivational. I don't know, my opinion.
I like that one. Sheila?
I suppose for me, the key thing is to make it clear that it's what it stands for is important, not the monetary value. However, I've received a hamper from my employer the other week, which I was particularly pleased about, largely because I picked it up as something that one of the organisations responding to one of our surveys had done. So I suggested this, and they took us up on it. And we're also getting an extra day off in a couple of weeks in recognition for all the work we've put in. So something like a day off doesn't cost the business anything. So if you are struggling a little bit, but you have had people you want to do something with, that's a possible way of doing it without too much cost. And something that we've all mentioned earlier is don't forget the thank yous along the way. It's so easy to remember them when you're face to face with someone, but don't forget them when we're all remote.
Oh, thank you so much, Sheila. Okay, so we've got two sponsors, and Andy's one of them, but I'm also going to bring on Mike Donovan now and just do this few sponsor pitches. Sorry, they've got 2-minute sponsors. If you guys could all stay on, because we'll go to a Q&A at the end if anybody's got any questions. So if any of the attendees do have any questions, pop them in the chat box or the Q&A box now, and I'll come back to them at the end. Here we go. No pressure. Last one. Here we are, right. So firstly, I'm going to introduce Mike Donovan. He's from Brushbox. This is each year, 3.6 billion plastic toothbrushes end up in a landfill or our oceans. And with consumers now demanding more from businesses they work for and spend with, now is the time to do something about it. So, Mike, are you on?
I am indeed.
Yes, lovely. Okay, right. So I'm just going to mute myself.
Hello, is this me now?
Yep,
Okay,
sorry.
afternoon, everyone. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see me, but if you can, we're going to start with a super quick question, and that would be, when was the last time you replaced your toothbrush? Sounds crazy, but reason for asking, look, 70% of us do not replace our brush when we're supposed to. So what, does that matter? Actually, yes. It's a wealth of health implications off the back of that, but that's for another talk. As we pointed out just now, there are currently 3.6 billion plastic toothbrushes that end up in landfill or oceans every single year. This isn't right. We all know trouble we're facing at the moment on a wider piece in terms of the global environment and our planet. We are the first generation who have the ability to do something about this. Unfortunately, we're the last generation who are going to get the chance to. So, and look, without sounding too grandiose, that's where we come in. Brushbox, we're a sustainable oral health brand. We deliver beautiful bamboo toothbrushes direct to our customers' door, right when the dentist recommends. As simple as that. It's not just about reducing plastic waste. We run a buy one, give one, plant one policy, which means every single brush we sell, we donate one to a disadvantaged child. Every single brush we sell, we plant a tree as well on your behalf. This is all well and good, but where's the relevance to the corporate environment? It's relevant because customers, employees care. They care about this. As we said earlier, customers, employees, they want to work for or spend money with businesses who are just as socially and environmentally conscious as they are. There are studies galore that give some quite shocking stats off the back of this. Unfortunately, it's no longer enough to just tell your audience what it is you do in this space. It's challenging times. You need to be able to tangibly show them. And I appreciate that can be really, really difficult for some businesses. So let's assume you were to consider giving away a good old bamboo toothbrush as part of your corporate gift strategy. First of all, look, they're relevant for everybody. We all need a toothbrush. If I may say so myself, they look pretty beautiful. We have got for long and hard, environmentally friendly packaging, co-branding. It looks high quality, it is high quality, but more importantly than that, it is the message behind it. So let's assume you were to give away 1,000 brushes. Not only is that 1,000 less brushes going to landfill, but importantly, that is 1,000 children who are going to be receiving help because of you and your recipients. That is 1,000 trees that are going to be planted. So being able to communicate that message as part of your gift strategy is super, super powerful, especially in the current environment. So whether your focus or intention is on customer acquisition, customer retention, employee engagement, or just more general PR associated with your wider sustainability and CSR agendas. We're currently in
Sorry.
That's okay, no, cut me off. I know we can cover anything else off in Q&A.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Stay on. Please stay muted because obviously if we've got any questions for you, we'll keep you on. And next up, we have Andy from Boroughbox.
Yes. So you can probably see me. I'll be very quick. I just thought it's probably easier just to tell you a little bit about what we do. So obviously we do all kinds of food and drink gifting, and that's everything from employees at home to these kind of letterbox snack boxes. We've done some cocktail gifts recently as part of events for your clients that you might be missing out, you know, the kind of webinar stuff. We obviously do seasonal stuff. We've got all kinds of very funky kind of co-branding, which you might be able to see, whether you've got your pure private label branded stuff, you've got co-branded stuff. I mean, look, we are flexible. We work with you know, literally probably close to 1,000 independent food and drink suppliers. You know, that's our lifeblood. We're the kind of people that specialize in the craft makers and shakers. They produce fantastic food. We have a marketplace, we have a retail side, we have a really powerful corporate proposition. So if you ever need to, just get in touch with us, corporate@boroughbox.com, whether you want to send small gestures to your team or something big on a wider marketing campaign. You'll be able to find us.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Andy. Right. That's it from our sponsors. So I'm going to switch back now. We've got one question. If any other attendees have any, please let me know. So here. Okay, this asks, is there a danger with one size fits all? Staff rewards can actually backfire. It can lead to staff thinking that management don't know me. Who would like that one? Can you see that?
Yeah, I'm happy to give my opinion on that one. I think there is a danger. There's always a danger with any strategy you put in place. To mitigate that danger, It sounds simple, but it's all about communication. As long as you communicate in the right way what you are doing, but more importantly, why you are doing it, nobody will begrudge you if you get something wrong, provided you properly explain what you're doing and, more importantly, why.
Thank you, Mike. And I'll come on to Sheila now as well.
Yes, I would have said something similar. You know, the example I gave of the hamper, if you were having a meal out with the team or a Christmas dinner, you would check who was vegetarian, who was vegan. So it's the same sort of thing. Do that there. Now, we all expect there's going to be something grim in the hamper that we're not going to want to eat. So, you know, that's by the by. But on the whole, yes, do make sure on gifts of that nature, don't send wine to someone who doesn't drink. I have to bear that in mind with one of my authors who does, you know, so that sort of thing. Those ones where you can tailor it to particular individuals, make sure you do.
Brilliant. Did anyone else have anything to add on that question?
Yeah, the only bit I'd add is obviously where possible, if you've got wellbeing forums or wellbeing committees, you know, the team can have a voice, they can plug in. So you can get a general consensus, or again, using tech, you can get a bit more of an understanding of what requirements are out there and try and please as many as you can.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jamie. I've got a question actually for Andy here as well. Can Boroughbox create bespoke boxes tailored to a certain budget?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. That's what we do. I mean, you can go to boroughbox.com. You'll see our kind of. I mean, the thing with food and drink, you can never stop curating. You know, you just have so much fun, and ultimately, you've then got so many SKUs. But if you go to boroughbox.com and go to our corporate section, there's a number of ways to get in touch with us. And you know, you've got everything from down here. You know, you've got team beers in a can for in a bucket for when people are back. But yeah, absolutely. You know, you can fill in a form on our site. It's a very quick type form. Tell us what you're looking to do, what your budget is, and again, what's the message you're trying to convey. Who are the audience? That's often the important part. Is you know, as Sheila said, you know, you don't want to send alcohol out to the wrong kind of people. So sometimes it can be a little bit of settling on that middle ground. You want to go for a really crazy food and drink campaign, but food and drink can be subjective, and you don't want half the people to be thinking, "Oh my God, I'm never going to eat that." But we cover everything. So absolutely, yeah. Just feel free to get in touch with us.
Thank you, Andy. And as I said before, I'll send over all the details to the attendees of all the panelists and sponsors after. I've got a quick question actually. Actually, Jamie, you might be able to help with this one. What do you think the the future health and fitness benefits are going to be now that gyms are still closed?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen technologies has gone nuts. So, you know, I think bricks and mortar fitness establishments have tried to, you know, kind of get into that space. There's lots of great content out there available already. You know, Joe Wicks was really early to the fore with that, you know, offering free content readily available. But he's been doing that for a long time anyway. But, you know, he just kind of used the forum of lockdown to be able to get his name kind of a bit higher. But look, I think that people absolutely will continue to service stuff digitally. But once people are able to, you know, we already know that health clubs are seeing demand of about 80% of their members are absolutely itching to get back into the facility. You know, people want to start swimming again. People want to do racket sports, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I think during lockdown, digital fitness has been really interesting and has helped serve a purpose. But I see once we're able to, people will migrate back to what they were doing before with the benefit of having digital fitness available, you know, as and when. But I think just to sort of finalize, I think the landscape has changed. So I think that the needs for having a corporate on-site gym, for example, you know, that might change now, whereas people don't need to be in the office as much as they were before. People are going to need flexibility. They're going to want to be able to access multiple venues in multiple areas. So fortunately, that's what Hussle do. So if as a business you need to offer your employees lots of different access, you know, that you're in good hands. But yeah.
Cheers, Jamie. Simon, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Oh, I just think the one key thing for me is don't underestimate recognition. It's not always about the reward value, but the rewards that are available are so wide and diverse, but do tailor them to your audience. But recognition is key, in my opinion.
Okay, that's brilliant. I don't seem to have any more questions from the audience. If anyone's got anything else they'd like to add before we go, are we all good? Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much to our panellists for this last session. Also, thank you to our sponsors as well. As I said, details will be sent over after, and we'll make sure that we send all the information around. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.